The very thought of going to prison is scary. In our heads, it's where they put all the bad guys. Imagine doing nothing and still ending up in prison. That's how an innocent convict must feel, every moment of their life contemplating how did they end up there? When will the suffering end? Not everyone is favored by fate, but some are set free after they're proven innocent years after their conviction, and their reaction will overwhelm us. It's like every moment of their jail time boiled down into that one instant. Here are heart-crunching courtroom scenes of 7 innocent convicts finally being set free. Number 7. Daniel Villegas. The crowd in this courtroom is overwhelmed and cheerful for Daniel Villegas, who is finally released after 20 years in prison. When the incident occurred, he was a 16-year-old charged with the murder of 2 teenagers. Villegas was on trial in 3 different occasions for his crime. He maintained his innocence throughout. The first time, it ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. A 1995 retrial ended with him being charged with capital murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. It took another 18 years before he got a third chance. The scenes we are watching now are from his third trial in 2013. The cheer of the crowd behind and the man breaking down in happiness. Surely, the courtroom has seen more emotions than a movie set. Number 6. Brian Banks. Some of you may be familiar with this name, as his story has a movie adaptation with the same name. The Netflix film that was released in 2019 depicts the hardships and exoneration of Brian Banks. To be convicted at just 16 and then spend 5 years in prison for a rape he didn't commit. He was accused of sexual assault by his ex-girlfriend. Even after getting released, the miseries of Brian didn't end. He could find no jobs, he could get no places. Everywhere he went, they called him a rapist. When there seemed no going back, the tide changed for Brian when a private investigator took up his case. The woman who accused Brian was caught on camera confessing she was lying, but said she didn't want to return the money she received. This was made possible by a well-laid-out plan by Brian's lawyer. Within 10 months, he went from being called a rapist to landing an NFL job. That's a true comeback story. Number 5. Kimberly Long. 15 years to life imprisonment for a murder she never committed in Riverside, California. One night, she arrived home only to find her boyfriend dead. She immediately called 911, but in an unusual turn of events, she went from being the one who found the dead body to the prime suspect. She was soon convicted of second-degree murder. Life seemed to have lost its joy for Long. But 7 years later, forensic evidence showed that her boyfriend died long before she had arrived at the scene. They also found the DNA of an unknown man at the crime scene. The prosecution soon dropped all existing charges. There are clips of her stepping outside the prison and yelling to her family, "Made it." She indeed did. Number 4. Anthony Ray Hinton. He was wrongly convicted for the 1985 murders of 2 fast food restaurant managers in Birmingham, Alabama. At the time of his initial trial, the prosecutor discredited the credibility of his ballistics expert due to the expert's physical limitations and lack of experience. The jury also disregarded the testimony of Hinton's boss, who said he was at work during the incident. Hinton was sent to death row and held in solitary confinement for nearly 3 decades. The main reason why Hinton couldn't win the trial the first time was the inefficiency of the hired ballistic expert. On April 1, 2015, the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office moved to drop the case. Their forensics experts could not match crime scene bullets to Hinton's mother's gun. Prosecutors admitted that they could not match 4 bullets found at the crime scene with Hinton's mother's gun, and that this was the only evidence offered in the original murder trial. The scenes we are watching are from April 3, 2015. Hinton was released from prison after a Jefferson County Circuit Court judge overturned his conviction, and the state dropped all charges against him. To spend 28 years in jail for crimes he didn't commit and still not lose hope in life. We all have a lesson to learn from this man. Number 3. Raymond Toller. 29 years for rape and kidnapping. 20 years inside a cell for crimes he had no connection with. Raymond Toller finally walked free in 2010. In May 1981, an 11-year-old girl and her cousin who were out on a walk were lured to a wooden area by a man claiming an injured deer needed help. When the two came close, the man pulled a gun and assaulted the boy. He then raped the young girl. Toller was caught a week later for a different case when the police officers noticed he resembled the composite sketch of the rapist. Even the victims and the witnesses identified Toller from a photo lineup, and despite having an alibi, he was sent to prison for life. The assault of a young boy and the raping of a young girl. Two crimes so gruesome, and to be wrongly accused and punished for both, enough to break down the spirits of any living soul. Even then, Tyler's reaction when he was finally set free was just, wow, when the crowd behind him couldn't stop their tears. He went ahead to give a heartwarmingly positive interview. Number 2. Eric Kelly and Ralph Lee. The two were imprisoned for life for the murder of Tito Marino, a 22-year-old who worked in his video store. The boy was stabbed to death. The death was unfortunate, but the way the police acted was much worse. The police put together a story by police using coercion and a sketchy eyewitness. They then used those statements against Lee and nailed their conviction. It was again up to attorneys and Innocent Project to step up and save the lives of the wrongly charged. The attorney made the court realize how blind the investigation process was and got Lee out after 11 years. On the other hand, Eric Kelly had a cognitive disability after a brain injury. He had trouble processing information from detectives and allegedly admitted to the crime. So even after Lee got out, the charges against Kelly weren't dropped. It took 24 years and major advancements in DNA testing to prove that Kelly wasn't at the crime scene. After finally getting out, the man's first words were, "Mainly, I want to eat. I'm a little hungry." Humans are sometimes that simple. Number 1. Juan Catalan. The man saved by sitcom. On May 13, 2003, 16-year-old Martha Puebla, a witness in a case of gang slang, was shot and killed in front of her home in Sun Valley, California. 3 months later, the FBI arrested 24-year-old Juan Catalan. He was interrogated for hours, and it seemed like the feds had everything to lock him down. A witness sketch that looked like him, and a witness who was supposed to take the stand against his brother getting murdered in cold blood. But Juan consistently pled his innocence. He said they were trying to pin the crime on the wrong person. When it seemed like things were getting out of his hands, Juan remembered that he had attended a Dodgers game with his daughter on the day of the crime. But getting footage of yourself in a stadium filled with thousands of people seemed impossible. Even if someone had shot pictures of it, how would he retrieve them from random strangers? This is where this case gets wild. Juan remembered he was on TV, not on Dodgers cam. As fate would have it, Larry David, the creator of Seinfeld and star of the HBO show Curb Your Enthusiasm, was shooting an episode in the same aisle. The episode was that Larry picked up a hooker in the carpool lane and took her to Dodger Stadium. What are the chances? Juan's lawyer contacted HBO, accessed the footage, and ran the tapes. But even after going through much of it, there was no evidence of Juan being present. Then, it came down to the once-in-a-lifetime moment of alibi caught on tape. This footage, combined with the phone call to his girlfriend when leaving the stadium, led to his case being thrown out. Both investigators were charged with coercion and falsifying their reports. And about Juan, what can you say? It's about being at the right place at the right time. To be in a stadium of 58,000 people and still be seated on the same aisle where the shooting was happening, it's no less than a winning lottery.